There comes a point in life when you have to look around and ask yourself a hard question. Why am I allowing this? Why am I giving people permission to cross lines they should never cross? Why am I letting voices into my life that tear me down instead of building me up? Why do I stay silent when my spirit knows I deserve better? The truth is, most people don't lose their power because someone stole it from them. They lose it because they hand it over, piece by piece, moment by tolerating behaviors that chip away at their self-respect. Every time you let someone treat you in a way that feels wrong, you are silently teaching them that it's acceptable. And here's the painful part. What you tolerate becomes your standard. Think about it. The friendships you've outgrown, the relationships that left you drained, the colleagues who constantly disrespected you. It didn't start with one big betrayal. It started with little things. A dismissive comment, a broken promise, a boundary ignored, and instead of stopping it, you let it slide. We all have. Until one day you wake up realizing you've allowed someone else's behavior to rewrite the rules of your own worth. But here's the shift. You are not here to be walked over, silenced, or diminished. You are here to stand tall, to claim your voice, and to demand a standard for how people treat you. Because once you raise that standard, everything changes. You start attracting better friendships, healthier love, and stronger respect. So let me ask you again, what are you tolerating that you know in your heart you shouldn't? Because today, we're going to talk about 5 specific behaviors you should never allow from anyone. Not your boss, not your partner, not your friends, not even your family. And once you see them clearly, you'll never see relationships the same way again. When someone disrespects your boundaries, they are not just crossing a line. They are telling you that your needs, your voice, and your existence are less important than their desires. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are doors with locks that allow you to choose who comes in, how far they go, and under what conditions. Without boundaries, you are left unprotected, open to manipulation, and vulnerable to being drained by people who care more about what they can take from you than who you truly are. Think about how often people push against the lines you set. You say, I need some time alone, and they guilt trip you for being distant. You say, I don't like being spoken to that way, and they laugh it off as if your feelings are a joke. You say, please don't share that private detail about me. And they still tell others. At first it seems small, almost harmless, but over time it grows heavier. And the more you let it happen, the more you teach them that your no doesn't actually mean no. Boundaries are about respect. They communicate your worth without you having to explain it. When you set them, you're not being rude, cold, or difficult. You're simply honoring yourself. But here's a challenge. The moment you start enforcing boundaries, some people will resist. Why? Because boundaries reveal the truth about who people are. The ones who love and respect you will adjust. They'll listen and they'll honor what you need. The ones who only benefited from taking advantage of you will get angry, defensive, or try to make you feel guilty. That's when you know the difference between someone who values you and someone who only values what they can get from you. Take a moment and think about the people in your life right now. Are there relationships where you feel drained, anxious, or small? Those feelings are signals. They tell you that a line is being crossed. Maybe it's a friend who constantly borrows your time, your money, your energy, but is never there when you need them. Maybe it's a boss who ignores your limits, demanding late nights or disrespecting your work-life balance. Or maybe it's a partner who pushes you into decisions you're not comfortable with, dismissing your voice in the process. Every one of those situations has the same root problem: the lack of respect for your boundaries. When you tolerate boundary violations, you start to lose pieces of yourself. You begin to question your right to say no. You wonder if maybe you are being too sensitive, too demanding, too much. That's exactly how people who disrespect boundaries want you to feel. Because if they can convince you to doubt yourself, they can keep taking from you without consequences. But let me remind you, saying no is not selfish. Saying no is self-respect. Every time you say it, you are protecting your energy, your time, and your peace of mind. It's important to understand that boundaries are not about controlling others. You cannot make people respect them. What you can do is set the standard and then decide what you will do when that standard is violated. If someone continues to dismiss your boundaries, Your responsibility is not to keep explaining, not to beg them to understand, but to make a choice. Either you create distance or you walk away. It's not easy, but here's the truth. You cannot heal, grow, or thrive in an environment where your boundaries are ignored. Many of us grew up believing that saying no makes us unkind, that putting ourselves first makes us selfish, that keeping limits makes us difficult. But let me ask you this. What's the cost of never saying no? What's the cost of always being available, always bending, always giving in? The cost is your mental health, your self-worth, your freedom. And let's be honest, you cannot pour into others if you're constantly running on empty. When you respect your own boundaries, you attract people who do the same. People who value you will never shame you for protecting yourself. They'll appreciate your clarity because it shows strength and self-awareness. And here's the powerful shift. The moment you stop tolerating boundary violations, you stop sending the message that you are okay being treated less than you deserve. You set a new standard for every relationship in your life. Imagine what happens when you draw those lines clearly. Instead of feeling drained, you begin to feel empowered. Instead of constantly explaining yourself, you begin to surround yourself with people who understand without needing to be told twice. Instead of being pulled in every direction, you start moving in the direction of your own goals and values. Respecting boundaries is about reclaiming control of your life. It's about recognizing that not everyone deserves unlimited access to you. Think of your time, your energy, your love as a bank account. Every withdrawal takes something from you. If you don't put limits in place, people will keep withdrawing until you're broke, exhausted, and resentful. But when you start saying, this is how far you can go, or this is where I draw the line, you are depositing back into yourself. You are protecting the balance of your own well-being. There will always be people who test your boundaries. They will push, they will prod, they will try to convince you that your limits are unreasonable. But that is not your problem. Your responsibility is to stand firm, even if your voice shakes, because every time you enforce a boundary, you're reminding yourself and them that your dignity is not negotiable. So the next time someone disregards your no, the next time someone laughs off your discomfort, the next time someone pressures you into giving more than you can, I want you to remember this. Your boundaries are not up for debate. They are not suggestions. They are not optional. They are declarations of your worth. And anyone who cannot honor them does not deserve a front row seat in your life. Because here's the bottom line. When you respect your boundaries, you are teaching the world how to respect you. And once you stop tolerating the violation of those boundaries, you'll discover something powerful: peace, freedom, and the kind of relationships that don't just take from you, but pour back into you. There is a weight that comes with being around people who are constantly negative, a heaviness that clings to you even after they leave the room. You know, the type, nothing is ever good enough. Every idea is shot down before it can take its first breath. And every dream you share is met with a smirk or a sarcastic comment. These people do not just speak negativity, they radiate it. And if you are not careful, their constant criticism begins to seep into your own mind until you start questioning whether you are capable of anything at all. Negativity is contagious. It doesn't matter how motivated or optimistic you are. If you surround yourself with voices that only point out problems and never see possibilities, it will eventually poison your thinking. Think of it like being in a room filled with smoke. At first, you might cough a little, wave your hand, and think you can handle it. But the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to breathe. Before you know it, you're gasping, and the smoke has taken over your lungs. That's what constant negativity does to your spirit. It suffocates your hope. Criticism is not always bad. Constructive criticism, when it comes from a place of love or respect, can help you grow. It points out areas where you can improve while still believing in your potential. But toxic criticism is different. It's not about helping you get better. It's about breaking you down. It's the snide remark, the rolling of the eyes, the "you'll never pull that off" comment. It's the person who constantly finds flaws but never offers solutions. Over time, you start to internalize those voices. You stop taking risks because in the back of your head, you hear, what if they're right? The danger of tolerating constant negativity is that it slowly rewrites your identity. You start to believe you're less capable than you are, that your dreams are too big, or that failure is inevitable. And the most tragic part, you might begin criticizing yourself in the same way. The voice that was once external becomes internal. Suddenly, you don't need anyone else to tear you down. You're doing it all on your own. Think about the people you confide in. When you tell them about something exciting, do they celebrate with you or do they point out 10 reasons why it will never work? When you talk about your goals, do they encourage you to go after them or do they make you feel foolish for even trying? That's how you know whether someone's criticism is rooted in care or rooted in negativity. The ones who love you may challenge you, but they'll never diminish you. They may point out the obstacles, but they'll also stand with you as you face them. Some people thrive on negativity because it makes them feel powerful. By tearing others down, they don't have to confront their own fears and failures. If they can convince you that your dreams are impossible, they won't have to face the fact that they never chase their own. Their criticism has nothing to do with you, and everything to do with the battles they're too afraid to fight. But if you keep them close, their fear becomes your fear, and their bitterness becomes your burden. You deserve better than that. You deserve to be surrounded by people who light a fire in you, not people who pour water on your flame, people who clap for you when you win and encourage you when you stumble, people who don't just see the obstacles but remind you of your strength to overcome them. Because the truth is, life will already hand you enough challenges. The world will already test your courage. The last thing you need is a chorus of negative voices pulling you backward when you're trying to move forward. Negativity is subtle too. It doesn't always show up as outright insults. Sometimes it's sarcasm disguised as humor. Sometimes it's "I'm just being honest" used as a shield to say hurtful things. Sometimes it's constant comparisons, making you feel like no matter what you do, you're never measuring up. That's why it's so important to pay attention, not just to the words people use, but to how you feel after you've been around them. Do you feel heavier, smaller, less hopeful, or do you feel energized, seen, and capable? Your emotions are the evidence. So what do you do when negativity surrounds you? First, you stop internalizing it. Just because someone says you can't, doesn't make it true. Their words are not your destiny. Second, you create distance. You don't have to cut people off immediately, but you can limit your exposure. Spend less time with those who drain you, and more time with those who inspire you. And third, you replace their voice with your own. Speak life over yourself. Remind yourself daily of your potential, your worth, and your progress. If you don't, the negativity will fill the silence. You are not here to live under the weight of someone else's bitterness. You are not here to shrink your dreams because someone else was too afraid to chase theirs. And you are not here to be the punching bag for someone who only knows how to criticize, but never how to build. You are here to rise. You are here to create. You are here to succeed. And anyone who cannot see that, anyone who only brings negativity and criticism without offering encouragement or respect, does not deserve the privilege of your presence. The most powerful thing you can do is guard your energy. Like it is sacred, because it is protect your mind from constant negativity. The same way you would protect your home from intruders. Do not hand out free access to those who only want to steal your peace. Once you make that decision, once you decide that you will no longer tolerate being torn down by the voices around you, something incredible happens. You begin to rise above the noise. You begin to believe in yourself again. And that belief is stronger than any criticism that could ever come your way. So the next time someone tries to rain on your parade, remember this: their storm is not your forecast. You control the weather of your life. And when you stop tolerating constant negativity, you'll see the sun again, you'll feel the warmth of possibility, and you'll discover that your dreams are not only valid, they're unstoppable. Dishonesty is one of the most corrosive forces in any relationship, whether it's personal, professional, or even within your family. Trust is the foundation of connection. Without it, everything collapses. It doesn't matter how much love, history, or shared experiences you have. Once trust is broken, it changes the relationship forever. A single lie may seem small in the moment, but lies have a way of multiplying, of weaving themselves into the fabric of the connection, until you no longer know what is real and what is not. And when that happens, the bond that once felt safe becomes shaky, unstable, and filled with doubt. When someone lies to you, they are not just hiding the truth, They are making a decision that your trust is less valuable than their comfort. They choose the easy way out instead of the honest one. They choose to protect themselves rather than honor you. It could be as small as a white lie, something they justify as harmless, or as big as a betrayal that cuts straight to the heart. But the impact is the same. Dishonesty plants seeds of doubt. And once doubt takes root, it grows into suspicion, resentment, and pain. Trust is like glass. When it's whole, it's clear, beautiful, and strong. But once it's cracked, even if you try to glue it back together, the fracture lines remain. You can still use it, but it will never be the same. Every time you look at it, you'll remember the break. That's what betrayal does to the human heart. It doesn't just wound you in the moment, it leaves scars that alter the way you see the relationship and even the way you see yourself. The danger of tolerating dishonesty is that it chips away at your sense of reality. When someone lies to you, you start questioning everything else they've said. If they lied about this, what else are they hiding? Can I trust anything they tell me? And soon you begin living in a constant state of doubt, replaying conversations in your head, analyzing every action, trying to piece together the truth. That kind of mental exhaustion is not just draining, it's destructive. It steals your peace, your joy, and your ability to feel safe in that connection. Betrayal is even deeper. It's not just a lie, it's a violation of loyalty. It's when someone you trusted with your heart, your secrets, your vulnerabilities, turns against you or takes advantage of that trust. Betrayal can happen in friendships where someone spreads the private details you shared in confidence. It can happen in relationships where someone chooses deception over faithfulness. It can happen at work, where a colleague uses your ideas but takes the credit as their own. Whatever form it takes, betrayal always carries the same sting. The person you thought you could rely on was never who you believed them to be. And here's the hard truth. When you tolerate dishonesty, when you allow betrayal to slide without consequence, you're telling yourself that your worth is negotiable. You're teaching others that it's okay to disrespect your trust, because you'll still be there no matter what. But every time you accept a lie, you lose a piece of yourself. Every time you overlook betrayal, you lower your standard for what love and respect should look like. And the longer you do that, the harder it becomes to demand better. I know why people tolerate dishonesty. It's because facing the truth is painful. Confronting someone you care about takes courage. Walking away from someone you've invested time, love, and energy into feels terrifying. So instead, many people convince themselves that the lie wasn't that big of a deal, that betrayal can be forgiven without change, that maybe things will get better on their own. But lies don't heal with time. They fester, they grow, and eventually they explode. That's why you must demand honesty in every area of your life. Not perfection, because nobody gets it right all the time, but honesty. The truth may hurt in the short term, but dishonesty destroys in the long term. A friend who tells you a hard truth, even if it stings, is more valuable than someone who tells you what you want to hear while hiding what you need to know. A partner who admits a mistake and takes responsibility is far more trustworthy than one who pretends everything is fine while living a double life. A colleague who owns up to an error deserves more respect than one who points the blame at others just to save face. When you refuse to tolerate dishonesty, you create space for relationships built on integrity. You begin to attract people who value truth over convenience. You start to build connections where you don't have to constantly question motives, where you can rest knowing that what you see is real. That kind of peace is priceless. And here's something powerful. Your standard of honesty doesn't just protect you, it empowers you. It reminds you that you are worth the truth, that your trust is valuable, and that anyone who wants a place in your life must earn it through consistency and integrity. You don't have to accept lies just to keep someone close. You don't have to excuse betrayal because you're afraid of being alone. Being alone with your integrity intact is far better than being surrounded by people who smile at your face while stabbing you in the back. Think about the energy you save when you no longer tolerate dishonesty. No more replaying conversations in your head. No more double-checking words and actions. No more wondering if what you're being told is the truth. Instead, you can put that energy into growing, building, and thriving. You can invest in people who give as much as they take, who honor your trust as something sacred, not disposable. So ask yourself, what lies have you been tolerating? What betrayals have you brushed aside because you didn't want to face the pain? And most importantly, what would your life look like if you drew the line today and said no more? Because you have that power. You have the right to demand honesty. You have the right to walk away from betrayal. And you have the right to build a life surrounded by people who see your trust not as something to exploit, but as something to protect with their whole heart. Never forget this. Dishonesty breaks bonds, but your strength is in choosing truth. Betrayal may hurt, but your healing begins the moment you decide you will no longer tolerate it. Hold to that standard, and you will discover relationships that are not just real, but unshakable. Manipulation is one of the most dangerous behaviors you can encounter because it doesn't always show itself in obvious ways. Unlike open disrespect or blatant lies, manipulation works quietly. It sneaks in under the surface, wrapping itself in guilt, flattery, or twisted logic until you don't even realize what's happening. Emotional control is its weapon, and the goal is always the same: to make you question your own judgment and hand over your power. The danger lies not only in what manipulators do, but in how they make you feel about yourself. They don't just try to win, they try to make you believe that you should lose. Manipulators are skilled at disguising their intentions. They can present themselves as caring, supportive, or even self-sacrificing. But behind that mask lies a pattern of control. Maybe they guilt trip you when you say no. Maybe they twist your words so that you're constantly on the defensive. Maybe they dismiss your feelings, making you believe you're too sensitive or overreacting. Over time, you start questioning whether the problem is them or you. That's the genius of manipulation. It turns the spotlight away from the manipulator and onto the victim. Think about gaslighting. One of the most powerful forms of manipulation, it's when someone denies your reality so persistently that you start doubting your own memory, your own perception, even your own sanity. You say, "That hurt me," and they respond, "You're imagining things." You say, "You promised this," and they insist, "That never happened." You begin second-guessing yourself until you're trapped in a fog, unsure of what's real. That's not just emotional abuse, it's psychological warfare. And if you tolerate it long enough, you lose your confidence, your clarity, and even your ability to trust your own instincts. The core of manipulation is control. A manipulator wants to steer your actions, your choices, and your emotions for their own benefit. They might use fear, implying that if you don't comply, you'll lose their love, their support, or even your reputation. They might use obligation, reminding you of everything they've done for you as if you owe them your freedom. Or they might use charm, making you feel so flattered, so special that you don't even notice when they start pulling the strings. But the result is always the same. You end up living for them instead of living for yourself. The tragedy is that many people tolerate manipulation because it's not always aggressive. It doesn't feel like abuse at first. It feels like compromise. You tell yourself, maybe I am being unreasonable, or maybe they're right and I should just give in. And little by little, you lose pieces of yourself. Your voice grows quieter. Your choices become smaller. And before long, you're living a life shaped not by your values, but by someone else's agenda. But here's the truth. Manipulation doesn't want you to know. You have the right to your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own boundaries, and your own choices. No one has the right to make you doubt your reality just to control the outcome. No one has the right to use guilt as a leash to keep you in line. No one has the right to twist love into a tool of power. Think of it this way: love empowers, but manipulation weakens. Or respect frees, but control cages. Anyone who truly cares about you will never need to manipulate you, because love doesn't demand, it invites. Respect doesn't force, it honors. If someone is constantly making you feel like you have to bend to their will, you're not in a relationship, you're in a power struggle. And in that struggle, the only way to win is to stop playing the game. So how do you break free from manipulation? The first step is awareness. Once you start recognizing the patterns, the fog begins to clear. Pay attention to how you feel after interacting with someone. Do you feel confused, guilty, or drained? Do you find yourself apologizing even when you didn't do anything wrong? Do you notice that you're making decisions out of fear rather than freedom? Those are red flags. That's the evidence that manipulation is at play. The second step is reclaiming your voice. That means learning to say no without explaining yourself endlessly. It means refusing to let someone twist your words or rewrite your reality. It means standing firm in what you know to be true, even if they try to convince you otherwise. It's not about fighting or arguing. It's about refusing to hand over your power. The third step is creating distance when necessary. Some manipulators will never change because control is the only language they know. You can set boundaries, you can confront them, but if they refuse to respect your independence, you may have to walk away. And as painful as that can be, it's far less painful than staying in a cycle of emotional control that drains your spirit day after day. When you stop tolerating manipulation, you send a powerful message, not just to the world, but to yourself. You declare that you are not a puppet, not a pawn, not someone to be played with. You are strong enough to trust your own judgment. You are wise enough to know when something feels wrong. And you are brave enough to demand relationships that are built on equality, not control. It won't always be easy. Manipulators don't like losing control, and when you start standing your ground, they may push harder at first. They may try new tactics to pull you back in. But if you hold firm, if you keep reminding yourself of your worth, their power will lose its grip. Because the truth is, manipulation only works when you believe the lie that you're powerless. Once you stop believing that, the game ends. So ask yourself, who in your life leaves you feeling confused, guilty, or small? Who makes you question your own reality more than you should? And most importantly, how much longer are you willing to tolerate it? Because the moment you say no more, everything changes. You reclaim your freedom, you take back your clarity, and you remind yourself of something manipulation tried to make you forget. You're in control of your own life. One of the most painful realizations you can come to is that not everyone who says they care about you actually wants to see you grow. Growth threatens people. It disrupts the comfort of the familiar. When you begin to change, to evolve, to level up in your life, it forces the people around you to confront themselves. Some will cheer you on because they love you enough to want the best for you. But others, whether out of envy, insecurity, or fear, will do everything they can to hold you back. And the most dangerous part is that sometimes it's not your enemies who sabotage your growth. It's the very people you thought would always support you. Lack of support doesn't always come in the form of someone openly telling you to give up. Often it shows up in subtle ways. It's the friend who makes a joke every time you share a new goal. It's the family member who reminds you of every failure from your past when you talk about your dreams. It's the partner who acts annoyed when you spend time working on yourself instead of catering to them. Their words may not sound like outright rejection, but the message is clear. Stay where you are. Don't outgrow me. Why does this happen? Because your growth is a mirror. When you start reaching higher, it exposes those who have chosen to stay stagnant. Your ambition reminds them of their lack of effort. Your progress shines a light on their excuses. Instead of being inspired, many feel threatened. They think, if you rise, what does that say about me? And instead of clapping for you, they try to clip your wings. But here's what you need to understand. People who cannot support your growth are showing you their own limitations, not yours. Their lack of encouragement is not proof that you're reaching too high. It's proof that they are unwilling to rise themselves. If you let their insecurity dictate your pace, you'll stay small to keep them comfortable. And nothing is more tragic than dimming your own light, so others don't feel overshadowed. Support during growth doesn't always look like grand gestures. Sometimes it's as simple as someone saying, "I believe in you." Sometimes it's giving you space to pursue your goals without guilt. Sometimes it's celebrating your small wins along the way. True supporters don't just show up at the finish line when you succeed. They walk with you through the grind, the setbacks, the long nights of effort. If someone is absent during your struggle but only appears when you've made it, their support was never for you. It was for the benefits of being associated with your success. When you tolerate a lack of support for your growth, you unconsciously accept the message that your dreams don't matter. You begin to second-guess yourself, to wonder if maybe you're asking for too much. You shrink your vision because you don't want to rock the boat. You settle for mediocrity because aiming higher feels lonely. But here's the truth. The cost of keeping unsupportive people close is far greater than the cost of walking alone for a season. Because while you're busy trying to convince them to believe in you, you're losing time you could be investing in actually building the life you want. Every person deserves to be surrounded by people who fuel their growth, not frustrated. People who challenge you, yes, but in ways that stretch you, not strangle you. There is a difference between someone who pushes you because they see your potential and someone who discourages you because they fear being left behind. One sharpens you, the other shackles you. You have to learn to recognize the difference. Think about the 5 closest people in your life. Do they encourage your growth, or do they make you feel guilty for pursuing it? Do they add fire to your ambition, or do they pour water on it? Jim Rohn once said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." If the people around you are unsupportive, unmotivated, and unwilling to grow themselves, then sooner or later their mindset will drag you down. But if you surround yourself with people who celebrate progress, who dream bigger, who challenge themselves, then your own growth will accelerate. It's not about cutting everyone off the moment they don't clap for you. Sometimes people struggle to understand your vision because it's different from theirs. But what you cannot do is continually tolerate people who refuse to support you, who belittle your growth, or who punish you for changing. If someone is committed to staying small, let that be their choice. Do not make it yours. Growth is not selfish. Choosing to improve yourself to pursue bigger goals, to want more for your life. That is not arrogance, that is responsibility. You are responsible for using your potential. You are responsible for becoming the best version of yourself. And anyone who truly cares about you will want to see that happen, even if your growth means you outpace them. Love does not compete. Love does not resent. Love supports. The lack of support for your growth is not something to tolerate. It's a sign, a signal, telling you to reevaluate who has earned the right to be close to you. Because when you stop surrounding yourself with those who hold you back, you create room for people who will push you forward. You attract mentors, friends, and partners who lift you higher. You start to build an environment where growth is not just supported, it's celebrated. So ask yourself, who do you have to distance yourself from in order to grow? What voices do you need to tune out so you can finally hear your own? And most importantly, are you willing to walk alone for a while, if it means walking into the life you are meant to live? Because here's the reality. Growth is uncomfortable. It's lonely at times, but it is always worth it. And the people who truly love you, the ones meant to be in your life long term, will never see your growth as a threat. They'll see it as proof that you are living fully. So don't shrink, don't slow down, don't apologize for evolving. Anyone who refuses to support your growth is revealing their place in your story, and it doesn't have to be a permanent one. Your growth deserves protection. Your future deserves support. And your dreams deserve people who clap the loudest when you win. Never tolerate less than that. When you look back over your life, you will realize that the moments that defined you were not the times you tolerated mistreatment, but the times you finally stood up and said, "No more. Life is far too short, and your purpose is far too important to spend it tolerating behaviors that rob you of your peace, your confidence, and your growth." Disrespect of your boundaries chips away at your self-worth. Consistent negativity and criticism poison your spirit. Dishonesty and betrayal of trust leave scars that can take years to heal. Manipulation and emotional control keep you trapped in someone else's game. And a lack of support for your growth tries to convince you that you don't deserve to rise. Every single one of these behaviors has one thing in common. They keep you small. They keep you quiet. They keep you from becoming the person you are meant to be. But here's the truth. You are not powerless. You have the right and the responsibility to choose what you will and will not allow in your life. The moment you decide to no longer tolerate these behaviors is the moment you reclaim your power. It won't always be easy. Some people will resist your boundaries. Others will accuse you of changing. But understand this: growth requires change, and change requires courage. You don't have to fight every battle. You don't have to explain every decision. You don't have to convince people to treat you with respect. Your silence, your boundaries, and your refusal to tolerate mistreatment will speak louder than words. And over time, you'll notice something incredible. The more you protect your energy, the more you attract people who honor it. The more you walk away from those who dim your light, the more you'll find yourself surrounded by those who help it shine brighter. So let this be your reminder. Never apologize for protecting your peace. Never shrink to fit into spaces where you don't belong. And never ever tolerate behaviors that strip away your dignity, your freedom, or your growth. You were not put on this earth to survive at the mercy of others. You were put here to thrive, to rise, and to live a life that reflects the strength, the wisdom, and the greatness inside of you. The people who deserve a seat at your table will never make you question your worth. They will respect your boundaries, uplift your spirit, honor your trust, encourage your freedom, and support your growth. Anything less than that is not love, not respect, and not worth keeping. So make the choice today. Draw the line, protect your heart, guard your energy, and step boldly into the life you deserve. Because the moment you stop tolerating less, you make room for more. The power is already in your hands. Use it.